So the Eagles did make a move, depending on how you view it. It's kind of a flyer sort of move. Julian Okwara, who is an edge rusher previously with the Lions, guy who averaged about 2 sacks per year with the Lions. I don't know that you can read too much into this. If this is if this is your replacement for Hassan Reddick, if he gets traded, you better start, rethinking things. But, it's one of those things, like, doesn't cost you anything. Take a shot, bring him in, see what he looks like. That's all.
Yeah, he spent 4 years. He spent 4 years in Detroit, was drafted in the 3rd round the 2020 draft. Went to Notre Dame. 26 years old, 6'4", 239 pounds, played in 38 games out of a possible 67 in his career. So he has a lengthy injury history that dates back to college. He only has 4 starts in his career. The Lions was hoping that he would have, slowly move up the depth chart and be an impact player. That never really amounted to that. But again, injuries have always derailed his prospects. So I don't know what this move is. Linebacker says edge rusher. I mean, sure, maybe low risk, high reward. As far as I'm concerned, he's just a guy. Career stats: 54 tackles, 9 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, 1 interception. I mean, over 4 years, that's not really impressive at all.
No.
So yeah, I mean, this is a bunt. This isn't even a full swing. This is again, as of right now, I look at this as just a training camp or an OTA body.
See what happens. He makes a team, great. Yeah. Bonus, gravy. It is in no way, shape, or form a replacement for Reddick if they decide.
This is not moving the needle. But again,
all right, let me ask you this.
To talk about.
Let's just hypothetical with Reddick. If he does get moved, do you think that they'll go hard in free agency or potential trade, or prioritize that, say, as a first-round pick? How do you think they would go about his replacement? Because, let's face it, 3 years ago when they had that need, Reddick was a priority signing, and it was a great deal. I mean, they got him for $15 a year, and he comes in here and he rips off 27 sacks in 2 years. So anyway, what direction do you think they go if they trade him?
It's a good question. So that makes me want to look at the free agent list right now when it comes to edge rushers. So as of right now on the edge, you have guys like Leonard Williams, Danielle Hunter, Carl Lawson, Randy Gregory, Marcus Davenport.
Most
Jerome
of those guys
Baker.
are up there in age, by the way.
Yeah. Also, a lot of these guys are going to be up there as far as price tag. I would love, if again, this is it. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Chase Young. He's 24 years old.
I wouldn't either.
A
lot of injuries. Yeah.
He's battled some injuries for sure. He managed to stay healthy all year last year. So I definitely want to give him credit for that. Played in 16 games this past season, 678 snaps. He was on the field 66% of the time on defense, 7.5 sacks. So he's definitely still a threat. He managed to match his rookie year production with less opportunities. So the motor is still running hot for Chase Young. And again, I think he's eager to prove that he can stay healthy. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. Listen, a guy like that, you can definitely get him. You could definitely get him in the building on a 1-year deal, maybe at about 14, 15 million, maybe around there. Again, I definitely want them to draft someone on the D line as well, but I think they probably want somebody to make an immediate impact. Chase Young is the first person that comes to mind for me. What about you?
I like the idea of Chase Young. I think you have to leave your options open here, and your draft will be dictated off of what you do in free agency and or trades. So if they don't bring in anybody of a real, big name, I think all roads are going to lead to probably an edge going first. Now, you can't. It's a dangerous way to drafting strictly for need, because you want to leave your options open to best player available in some cases. Right. So I don't think it's a lock if they don't bring somebody in that they go edge, but I think it's more likely they go edge. You could see the Eagles move up. Howie's usually a guy who wheels and deals. It's rare he stays pat on draft night. So You know, if there's somebody there, what are they picking, 22? There's somebody sitting there at like 19 or whatever. Could I see Howie getting up to get the guy? Absolutely. 100%. I could see that happening. Let me give you this one, Tone. It's been a little interesting, not shocking, but one of Jeff Stoutland's top assistant coaches. I am not familiar with this guy, so I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you right up front. Roy Istvan, Istvan. He was an assistant offensive line coach. He left the Eagles to take the same position with the Browns. Listed as an assistant O-line coach since 19. He is taking the same position with the Browns. He goes way back with Stoutland. In fact, more than 30 years. He played for Stoutland and then coached with Stoutland at Southern Connecticut State all the way back in the late 80s. So these guys go back a while. So this tells you, you know, like the changes are pretty deep here. I can't imagine that this is someone that Stoutland wanted to jettison, but, you know, that's the way it goes. That guy's out of here. And this just shows you very few are safe here, man.
Yeah, man. You know, we talked about this. Everybody around Nick Sirianni is pretty much getting jettisoned, like you said. There's better work. Whatever they're doing, whatever they're building over there, this complete staff overhaul that they're showing, it better work. And you and I are going to break this down a little bit more later on, because we're going to discuss if this model or what they're trying to achieve, is it sustainable, or can it yield instant results?
Yep. Because it is major turnover. I mean, like huge coaching staff turnover. And like you said, we will get into this, but potentially 10 starters could be different, 7 on the defensive side, if everything, you know, kind of plays out the way it might.
A lot of change.
That's a lot of change. And, yeah. Can you retool on the fly? And some teams have been really successful. The Kansas City Chiefs on defense retooled that thing, you know, in a big way and did a great job with it. Other teams have done it, but other teams, it's taken them a few years also. And the Eagles are in win now mode.
Yeah. My only retort to that would be the Chiefs had more stability in their coaching ranks. So that definitely would definitely make the roster turnover maybe a little bit more smoother, because you have tried and true teachers in the building.
Yeah. Well, you did. You had more stability in the coaching ranks, and you have, you know, a goatish quarterback who's going to get you through a lot. Who I mean, think about what the Chiefs did. They traded away Tyreek Hill and won back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Is that not the ultimate testament to Patrick Mahomes? Like, we could throw a lot of numbers out there. That's the one where you're like, when you sit back and think about that, like, damn, it's unbelievable.
No, yeah, for sure. It says a lot about him also. I think it says even more about the fact that how they were willing to gamble. Remember at the time, the Chiefs only had 1 Super Bowl when they traded Tyreek Hill. So they basically said to themselves, we'd rather bet on this quarterback than pay this player north of $30 million at the position. And they bet right. You know, a lot of things can go wrong, right? A lot of things can go wrong. But again, Patrick Mahomes is who he is, and he managed to lead them onto the mountaintop, not once but twice.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think too? I probably I shouldn't do this, but I always compare things to Philadelphia. And think about the mayhem that would have ensued had the Eagles it would be akin to letting A.J. Brown walk for nothing, right? I mean, that's what Tyreek Hill is, and perhaps even better. We would have lost our minds, but it worked in Kansas City.
Yeah, because it goes back to, at the end of the day, it goes back to the main question: how much do you believe in your quarterback?
Yeah,
and you know, it's funny, whenever the conversation comes up about A.J. Brown's future in Philadelphia, Eagles fans get tight.
Yep.
They get real stiff about it, right? Even some people who cover the team, they get real tight about it. And I can understand why, because A.J. Brown is a premier talent, you know, and, you know, you would be a fool to think trading him is in your best interest. But when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, this team has a lot of holes, and they can use some draft picks. They need enough flexibility in terms of rebuilding his defense, rebuilding his roster as a whole. The roster is very unbalanced. It's top heavy. They don't have any depth. They don't have a defense. So when you think about how they can fast track, their resurgence, you think about, okay, who has value? Who can I move? Things like that. And when AJ Brown's name comes up, people get upset because they married themselves to him. He's been very productive for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's given you 2 back-to-back seasons of north of 1,400 receiving yards. He's giving you 18 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He broke the franchise reception record. I mean, he's already submitted himself in the Eagles history book. So a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. Me personally, I'm a fan. I'm passionate about it. And look, I'm very, very locked in on AJ Brown, and I love what he does, man. He's so fun to watch. But I think we'd be fools to at least not consider the prospects of what the Philadelphia Eagles are thinking. Maybe not this offseason, but the next or the one after that. If I'm being honest with myself, I don't think AJ Brown is going to retire in Philadelphia. I think eventually this is going to become Devontae Smith's show, and as the contract for Jalen Hurts becomes more entrenched in the cap, you're going to see less weapons, less high-profile weapons on the offense, and it's going to be up to him to elevate everybody around him. And again, it goes back to the Patrick Mahomes thing and Tyreek Hill. They traded Tyreek Hill because they felt comfortable about who they had at quarterback. At some point, they're going to have to make a decision. Do I trust Jalen Hurts enough in order to take a gamble, like maybe trading Dallas Goedert or maybe trading AJ Brown? So I know people don't like having those conversations, but it's something we have to consider because this is a business at the end of the day, and you want to balance the roster. You want to make sure you got draft picks, a defense. Kansas City kind of laid out a model it's hard to follow, but it's something you got to think about.
Well, even if you let's forget about AJ for a minute. I think this also leads to an interesting question regarding this year. Like, and again, this is pulling on the heartstrings. This is sentimental stuff. Can you really afford to use a roster spot on Brandon Graham?
No, you can't.
I feel like it's trending that way. I love Brandon Graham. We've had him on the show. Love it. I mean, what is not to love?
Yeah,
but
Brandon Graham is tremendous. This isn't even, personal. Some people will make it personal, but it's not.
Yeah. So this is where you have to really ask yourself, is Kelce worth $14 million a year? Now, Kelce's still a great player. I'm not saying he isn't, but can you lay 14 at the center position? I don't know,
Kelce,
man. I go back
Kelce,
and forth on
I'll make a way. For Kelce, I'll make a way because of his importance to that offensive line and also his importance to Jalen Hurts' development. I think you asked me before, would I rather have Fletcher Cox back or Jason Kelce? And I said Jason Kelce because of all this coaching turnover, especially on the offense with Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier. They're trying to evolve Jalen Hurts. I think you want to put Jalen Hurts in the best environment to cultivate that evolution. And I think Jason Kelce would be instrumental. He would be integral to Jalen Hurts' development as a legitimate quarterback.
Yeah, it's just these are the hard things that Howie's going to have to do, and I understand it's difficult with some of these guys because they've been here forever. They were part of the Super Bowl team. You have a clear affection for them. I get it, but it's hard sometimes separating the business part of this thing from the personal part of it. And Joe Banner, I think, did it very well back in the day. Although I think he hit like the hard and steadfast rules where you're 30 and you got to be out of here. I think that was BS. Like he blew it on Dawkins and a couple other times. But I think Howie may get a little too sentimental sometimes with guys.
Yeah, I could definitely see that with BG. When it comes to Kelce, I could take my emotions out of it and look directly at just the production.
Yeah, he's still a stud. I know.
And say first team All-Pro, Pro Bowler, Iron Man, never misses a game.
Yeah,
that's not to say he doesn't battle his own, aches and pains. He's never fully healthy, but he's such a tough dude, and he still manages to play at a All-Pro level. No emotions there. Strictly just he's a productive player. He's still great at what he does. He's still top 3, top 2 of the position. The last year he was number 1 of the position. I'm willing to roll the dice on that for another season. I'm willing to pay the cost for that.
Yeah, I know Kelce's a little bit different in that he's still a first team All Pro, and clearly there's been a drop off, with some of those other guys. Now Fletcher's sort of in the middle, in my opinion. I thought he had a good year. I really did.
I agree.
But he probably wants more than he made last year, and I think he made 10 last year. Are you going to give a guy at that age 12 at 30, whatever he is, 33? I don't know. I mean, I think Fletcher's a tough call.
Fletcher's a tough call. I agree with you 100%. Fletcher had a really solid year last year. You can make an argument he was their best and most consistent defensive tackle. But ultimately, I only would like him back here if the number made sense from the cap perspective.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure this team has enough cap flexibility so they can make moves and reload this roster, because they have a lot of things to work on. And you don't want to lock up too much money, with going guy, especially if they're aging and if they're not even top 3 of their position anymore. That's why I think Kelce is an anomaly. I think Kelce is an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
Fletcher Cox, as much as I would love to have him back, if he's asking for 13, 14 million, then I can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where I wonder if we're going to be getting to a point of any kind of hometown discount. I mean, Kelce would have every right to say, "Hey, I'm still playing at a really high level," right? So, I mean, I think that's the rub. There is just, hey, man, I'm still phenomenal, and I'm putting my body through this hell. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. All right, let's step aside. We'll come back. Tone, we're going to be joined by Matt Lombardo. We've had Matt on the show before. He is the senior NFL insider for Fan Buzz, and we're going to talk to him, about everything Eagles, everything NFL, the significance of the Super Bowl, Mahomes, etc. So we will get into all of those things with Matt when we come back. A little later, like you said, we're going to talk about some of the turnover with the Eagles as well. Some Philly stuff, some Flyer stuff, some Sixer stuff. We'll get into all of it. All right, let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Been going there since I was a kid. Family owned since 1985. You got Alex and the crew there each and every day, just absolutely crushing it. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the specialized pizza however you want it. They will make it, but you're not up for pizza. They have fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They really give back. They have fundraisers for charity, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.